Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is me Frankstan, and today I'll be showing you guys how you can create a program which will give you automatic updates about the coronavirus. And we will be making this program using Python. So just a bit of prerequisites before we start. First, I want you to know the Python version which you have, because we'll be using Python 3 in this case, and you can check this by simply typing it in the terminal or shell as Python space two hyphens and then version, and my default version is 3.8.3. So sometimes especially on Linux systems there could be multiple Python versions, and the way you can check this is by typing in ls slash user slash bin slash and then grep python. And as you can see, I only have Python 3 installed. There are no Python 2s. So it could happen that your default version could be Python 2, but you might have Python 3, in which case you need to just type in Python 3 whenever you're using it, right? So there's that. And before we get started, I just want to let you know that this tutorial should work well on Windows, Mac OS or Linux, and as long as you know how to use Python and the pip package, that's the Python package installer, I guess, you should be good to go. So what we're doing is basically web scraping, which is grabbing data from a specific website. And I just want you to know that some websites don't allow it, like I've said in my previous video. So check in on that, and just make sure that you're a bit careful and you don't violate anything. And if you do, I'm not responsible. Do this at your own risk. So now once that's out of the way, the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to check basically the libraries that we need to make this program. So before that, I'll just show you a quick demo of what our final product will look like. This is the program, and this is for my own country because that's how I created it. So you can make this for your own country as well by following this tutorial. So first we'll check the status code. It says the request was successful, and then get updates, and it shows us all the numbers. And that's about it. It's pretty basic. You can expand on this, you can create more if you want to, or if you're too lazy to just make it, and if you're from India, then you can just directly download it from my GitHub page, which will be down in the description. So now let's get started, right? So I'll be using pip3, and first we'll need to install requests. Now usually this is pre-installed with Python, and the way you can check that is by typing pip3 show requests, and just wait for it. And there we go. That shows that it's already installed, and you can actually do this on Python 2 using pip, but certain commands and certain syntax will be different in Python 2. So if you know your way around in Python 2, you can just follow this tutorial and just take a look at the syntax differences between both the language, and I think it should work well. I've not tried it on Python 2, so I can't promise you anything, but you can go ahead and try. So that's our first package. So if you don't have this, then you can just install as pip3 install requests. As simple as that. And the next package that we need is Beautiful Soup. So the way you check is pip3 show Beautiful Soup 4, and it shows. Again, if you don't have it, pip3 install Beautiful Soup 4. And there's one more library that we need, but I'll discuss that in the next section, next part of my video. So now let's get started. So in this application there are just two parts. That's how I've divided it. One is the graphical user interface. This is the GUI, right? This window, what you're seeing here is the GUI. And there's one more part, that's, you can call it the networking or the web scraping part, which I will be covering in this video. So those were the two libraries, requests and beautiful soup, which we will be requiring for the web scraping part. For the GUI part, I will cover that in the next video. Alright, so now let's get started. So I'll create a new file, and I'll call this Corona Updates US, because I'll make it for the US this time. I'll open that and create a new file inside of it, and this will be called okay, it's a text file. Just a second. Alright, so let's call this test.py. Alright, so now I'll just open it using my text editor, and throughout this video I will be executing the Python file using the terminal. You can choose whatever IDE or text editor you like, but I'm just doing the standard method. That's, you don't need any installation of any software, you just need the terminal and a text editor. Anyone would work. So let's get started. So first we are going to import requests. And just a second, I need dark mode to work here, so I'll just change the preferences. Okay. Okay, I didn't change anything. Okay, I don't know how to change. Okay, never mind, we'll just work with this. I'll figure it out some other time. So import requests, and then the next thing that you need to do is from bs4, that's beautiful soup 4, import beautiful soup, and there we go. Those are the two libraries that we had to import. And next, what we need to do is have our link ready from the website or the page from which we will be doing our web scraping. So I could just use any website, but I'll just use Google's data in this case. So I'll just type in Corona US, and you should see Google's analytics right here, and I'll just say more location and statistics. And once I've clicked that, the link should load any minute. And almost there. There we go. And you can see here the confirmed cases, which is quite high, and the recovered number, which is quite okay, and the deaths too. So yeah, there's that. So let's copy the link text, and then here we can name any variable. You can name the variable whatever you want. I'll just call it link, and then paste it. But this won't work because we need this to be a string value. So just add a double quotation mark or single quotation mark at the beginning and end of it, and that should be a string. So once we've done that, then next we need to do is have a response object. What this basically does is variable. First we need to assign a variable which will initiate the requests.get link. So what this does is it gets the request, it gets the data from that website, but that's all it does. It just assigns it to a response object. Now what we need to do is to check if this was successful. So basically, if we need to check if we were able to successfully communicate with the website. And the way we do this is we have something called as requests, and this is the same variable that I used here. Okay, dot status code underscore code. So if we were able to successfully communicate with the website, then we should get a status code of 200, which means that it was successful. But if we get anything like 400-ish, 413, 414, any number but 4 -- format, then it means there was a client error. Maybe your internet connection was down. I don't really know much about that. The error codes you can go and research on your own. Or we could get a 500 error, 505, I don't know, a 5 dash dash format error, which means that there was a server error. So probably means that there was nothing wrong on your side. Maybe the website blocks such suspicious GET requests. So to just confirm this, we have to print it out so that it's visually visible to us. And we'll just put this inside the print function and now execute the code. So I'll just cd to the directory in which this Python file exists. Forgot what I had named it. Okay, updates us. There we go. Let's clear the screen. And now to run it, it's just as simple as Python. In your case, if your default Python version is 3, then you just have to do Python. But if it's not, then do Python 3. Python test.py, and that should run, and we should get a status code of 200, and that's nice. So now, once we know that, we don't have to print it out every time. So we'll just put that there, because unless the website suddenly changes anything or something changes from the client side, it should always return 200. If not, then we'll know. So now we need to grab these numbers. Now maybe you are making this for your own city, so maybe you need these specific numbers, but the general idea, the general procedure should be the same. What you need to do is right click and then view page source, and this shows you the page's source code from where we will do our actual web scraping. So I'll wait till that loads up, and there we go. And you can see that it's quite intense. There's a lot of code here, and manually searching through this will be very difficult, almost impossible. So one way we can make it easier is grab what we need, in this case this. So I'll just copy that and go here and press Ctrl F, which initiates the search option, and paste our data inside there, which takes us directly here. As you can see, this line of code, and this is what we actually need. And you don't need to go all the way back to see what the tag is. You just need this specific part. So just a second, I'm trying to scroll but it isn't working. Okay. Okay, so let me just scroll. I don't want to use this scroll bar because it's way too sensitive and it will just fly across the page. So there's our number that we want. That's the confirmed cases, and it matches this. So how will we grab this? Is by using the beautiful soup. What basically beautiful soup is, it is a parser, which means that it takes in HTML data and it parses it for us. So first we need to assign it to a variable. I'll call it it's usually called soup, but you can call it whatever you want. I'll call it pasta, why not? And then assign it to the beautiful soup constructor, and inside of it we need request.content, and again the same variable that I had used here. So if yours is a different name, then use the same one here. So if this was rec1, then use rec1 here. Okay, you get the idea. And now you put HTML parser, html.parser inside single quotation marks, and after that what we need to do is find this specific number here. The way we are going to do that is use the soup.findAll function. So again we need to assign this to a variable. I'll call it let's just call it x0. x0 is equals to soup.find_all and inside single quotation marks or double quotation marks div, because that's the tag that's been used here specifically, this, right? The opening tag is div and the closing tag is slash div. Yours might be different. It could be a li tag, which is a list tag. So yeah, after that then you need to type in class, but inside curly brackets and inside quotation marks. Class, use a semicolon, sorry, use a colon, and then you need to type in the actual class here. So we have div and the class, right? You need to copy it. It needs to be exact, and then paste it here. And there we go. As simple as that. And close the bracket. And now, if we just print x0 and save it and run it, you should see our data. So what it does is basically it looks through the HTML data and it looks for this specific tag div, which has a class uv, that class, right? So it may not be necessary that there's just only one specific tag, because if you just look, alright, just a second. Oh, oops, I forgot. It's not soup.final, it's pasta.final, because I used a different variable name here. So let's do that again. And just wait for it. So as I was saying, there could be multiple different tags, and you will probably see right now that there are more division tags which have the same class, as you can see. But usually this is a disadvantage, because it means that you have to look for even more specific data inside of already specified data. But in this case it's good for us, because the source code uses the class for the recovered the active cases and the recovered cases and the death cases, which is nice because we don't have to repeat this code all over again. We can just use the same code again. Simple as that. So what I can do is just target the specific element. I don't know if this will work. Let's try. Probably won't, in which case, so basically it's kind of like a list which has 3 items, and in Python the lists start with 0 1 2 3, so it starts counting from 0 1 2 3, and what this number is called is an index. So this first list item has an index of 0, next list item has an index of 1, so we call this specific by specifying the index number, in which case this is called the first one, right? And that's good for us. But again we have all this div class and this extra attributes that we don't really need. What we need is this number. So now we can just use Python code to manually parse it out and just grab the number. But Beautiful Soup has made it excuse me. So Beautiful Soup has already made it easy for us. So the way you want to do this is assign it to another variable. In this case I'll call it active cases or the total cases, and this variable will be assigned to x0.find all text is equals to true. So what we're doing is we already have this specific data, that's x0, and we're finding the text, which is this, and we're setting it as true. So it'll just take a look at this x0, which is this, and find any text and give it back to us. But we don't want all of this, we want the first list item. So here I'll just specify 0. There we go, simple as that. So now if I just print total cases and save it and run it again, it should do the trick. So while that is happening, I will create more for the recovered cases as well. So you can call it as recovered cases, Okay, just a second. We actually need to redo this part a little bit, but that's okay. I'll just copy this code. Okay, just a second. Total cases is not defined. Oh, there's this slight typo. Once I fix that, I'll just run that again. Alright, so now let's call it x1. Okay, just a second. I'll just copy this and paste it and do that again for the depth cases. So I'll call this the depth cases. I know that sounds kind of dark without context, but we know what we're doing here. We're calculating the amount of deaths that's been caused due to the coronavirus. And then the recovered cases. I'll advise to just call this something simpler, because you can easily make a typo like you saw before in this case. So maybe it's better to call it something simpler. But anyways, so now what we're doing is we're doing this all over again, and obviously the variable name has to be different so that there are no conflicts. And if we change that there, we need to change it here. So let's change that, and it needs to be changed. So for the recovered cases, it's the second list item, and if it starts counting from 0, then it's 0 1 second, and the third will be 0 2, and there we go. Everything else is fine, right? So now we can check if this has worked by printing out recovered cases and death cases. There we go. So save it, and you can see that it did print out, but it's in this weird format where we have 2 square brackets and 2 quotation marks, and I'll show you how we can get rid of that, and that's quite easy too. But first let's confirm that all of this code works, and I'll just wait for that. So yeah, you can tidy up your code a little bit if you want to, group things together, add comments, so you can just refer it to later. So if you ever want to edit your code, you know which part does what. So I might call this as this part. You can add a comment such as this part finds the total case. Yeah, something like that. So it's especially useful if you're a developer. Then you can, if you're uploading your code somewhere, other developers can work on it and they can understand what your code means. So as you can see that this has worked successfully, and all of it has been printed out successfully. So now we don't need to print anymore, we can just get rid of it, because now we will be parsing it. Okay, and now what we need to do is to parse it, we'll use the for loop. So for, we can call it anything. I'll call it for element in total cases. Okay, I forgot that we have to first of all convert this, because right now it is a beautiful soup object, I guess, what we have obtained here. That is basically total cases, right? So first we obtained pasta as the okay, just a second. Yeah, so first we obtained pasta as a beautiful soup object, and from there we did not change our data type, which means that it's still the same. So if you're going to pass it through a for loop for us to parse it, then we need to convert it to a string or a list. I'll convert it to a string. So I'll convert it by using total cases is equals to the string function and give the input as total cases itself. So now total cases is a string. So now for element in total cases, I'll say total cases is equals to total cases dot replace, and first we will get rid of the square brackets. So type in what you want to be replaced here, and what we are doing here is basically replacing the square bracket with an empty string. It does not contain anything, so in a sense we are deleting it. And you can just copy this and do that twice, once for the other square bracket and one for the single quotation marks. So you don't need to do it again for quotation marks. It'll just find any quotation marks that are in the string and get rid of it automatically. So now, after all that's been done, now our new variable should look nice and clean. So I should not have removed the print function over there. That's okay. Alright, so now we have to do that for everything else. So just a second. So first convert it to a string. For element, for that element is a variable name. You can just use whatever you want to. It won't create any conflicts if you use it, because I think it exists in the local scope, which means in this loop itself. So you don't have to really worry about it, but you can just use different names, and the name doesn't really matter at all because we're not using that anywhere here. Okay, so recovered cases is equals to recovered cases dot replace, and just copy and paste it. There we go. So that's done. And then print recovered cases. Okay, so here we need to add square bracket, done, final for the dead cases. Okay, now for element 2 in dead cases, death cases is equals to death cases dot replace, and done. Now you just copy this twice more. Okay, so that should work fine as long as I've not made any errors. I hope I have not. So if everything goes right, it should just, oh oops, I just forgot. So let's cancel this, clear the screen. I forgot to make it square brackets, and there we go. That should work fine now. So let's run this again, and we'll use the Python test.py to run it again, and let's wait for it. So hopefully there are no errors this time, and it should work fine. Let me just check for any syntax errors. There are none, I guess. I hope there are none. Okay, so yeah, there we go. So we have our data in proper format without any extra junk. So yeah, that means that worked correctly, and that's it for this video. So I have covered everything. That's the web scraping part over here. I'll see you guys in the next video, in which I'll be showing you guys how you can make the GUI part of the code, and I'll see you guys in the next one, which is the part 2, and we'll see how to use the tinter, which is basically what is used to create the GUI part. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.